I know you had
I
that
do, man.
one.
I
You had
like
that one at
grappling.
the
The
end of
only thing
December where you were a little frustrated, right?
it's just I don't like the play on the rules.
With this.
I don't even know how they score that. Another man can't drag his ass cheeks on the mat and think that's a win, doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's sport jiu-jitsu, guys, but I guarantee you, if that was a street fight, my man would never do that shit.
Aljamain Sterling had a sit down with Ariel Helwani where he doubled down on his comments about grapplers exploiting rule sets during his post grappling match interview, a match that he lost. Let's quickly watch that 1 minute post match interview and then head over to his sit down with Ariel.
You knew what you were getting into with this matchup. You played to the crowd. It seemed like you had some fun. I know it didn't turn out the way you want, but what are your thoughts on the matchup?
I don't even know how they score that. Another man can't drag his ass cheeks on the mat and think that's a win, doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's sport jiu-jitsu, guys, but I guarantee you, if that was a street fight, my man would never do that shit. You know what I mean? So why are we turning the sport into some type of weird spectacle where you can win a match off of your back, doing absolutely nothing? If I did nothing, what the fuck did he do? Sorry.
All right, really quickly, his comments are, at first I thought, it was the heat of the moment and his comments were based on like the fact that he had lost and he's very competitive. So I was like, oh, maybe he'll become self-aware and realize that he spams, downed opponent more than anybody else in the UFC. He will quit forcing you to come down with him on the floor, but he will spam grounded opponent more than anybody else. I mean, we saw it with the Peter Yan fight. We saw it with the Cejudo fight. And I do believe it's something that comes from his camp because it does seem like also Marab kind of, if they're in danger, they're going to go into turtle and spam grounded opponent. Like, it happens all the time. So it's kind of weird for him to not be self-aware and say, hey, this is lame or this is corny or you're abusing the rules when he kind of, that's kind of his style. But let's get back to it.
But I'm just saying, I want to have a fun match. I told you guys beforehand, I'm trying to get in his head a little bit. Maybe he'll engage, pull guard from standing up. Don't just start the match on your butt. That should be deducted a point right out of the gate. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Never let another man drag you by your ankles in front of your loved ones and friends, because that is a disgrace.
He says, never let a man grab you by the ankles because that's a disgrace. That is a disgrace. But you know what? It's also a disgrace if you're fighting against someone and something that's much closer to fighting, which is MMA, and your go-to position is to get on all fours so they can't, kick you. Or if they do kick you, they're going to get disqualified. They can't knee you. They can't kick you. In real life, if you're fighting someone and their idea of, this is sport combat or sport jiu-jitsu. You have to deduct points. If you're trying to engage, you sit down and let them come to you. And if they're like, no, stand up, it's like, well, we're going to end up on the ground anyways. Let's just get down, to the ground. So it's kind of strange. It just seems like at first I thought, oh, well, it was the heat in the moment he lost. So that's why he's saying this. But then I wanted to listen to his most recent interview with Ariel Helwani to see what his comments were going to be about this grappling match. And no, he doubles down and says, fuck that. No, he still stands by his comments. So let's go ahead and check that interview out with him and Ariel. And here's a clip of Aljamain Sterling doubling down on Ariel's show.
You enjoy it? I know you had that one.
Man.
You had that one at the end of December where you were a little frustrated, right?
It's just I don't like the play on the rules. And don't get me wrong, there's sport jiu-jitsu, there's jiu-jitsu for fights, there's jiu-jitsu for the real life application, of what
See, so he straight up doubles down right off the top. He's like, I don't like the abusing of the rule set. But I don't know if he's not self-aware enough to realize that he spams grounded opponent in his fights. Like, he abuses the rule set of MMA. And I don't know why Ariel doesn't call him out on it. It's like, hey, just to let you know, you kind of, do that whole I'm grounded, I'm not grounded, drag your hand on the floor. If you knee me, then you're disqualified and the fight's canceled and I win. That whole drag your hand when someone has you in a clinch and you're just like, if I eat a knee right now, the fight's over and I win. That's fucking lame. Like, that's some lame shit. And he does that all the time. He does that. I'm dragging my hand, like, what's going on? Or I have my knees down, or I'm on all fours. He'll go to all fours during an MMA match, but he's mad at grapplers for, sitting down and want you to go into their guard. It's crazy.
Jiu-jitsu was for self-defense, the smaller person being able to defend themselves against a bigger person. And if we're talking about viewership and growing the sport, I just believe that these hardcore jiu-jitsu enthusiasts who are okay with sitting on their butt, that's okay. But if you want to build a platform, you want to get more people involved, that ain't going to do it. You got a huge platform. You got a big main event. And that's what you do. And I even said it during the match, like, this is what you want to give. I'm like, you know how many people are watching this? I'm asking this guy, this is what you want to do. You want to engage like this? I'm like, you're dragging your ass on the mat and you're pretending that this is you trying to keep the fight going. Like, no.
See, he's not self-aware. Like, look at his criticisms. Like, hey, this is he has a huge platform in the UFC. And when it's time for him to fight, he goes on all fours and then lays on the ground and wants you to come down to him. If he takes too many punches, or if he's not winning on the feet, he will try to force you to play into his guard and play jiu-jitsu. He wants you to play jiu-jitsu when he's not winning the striking exchanges. He's so unaware at this very moment of how much of a hypocrite he's being, of when he's in the big matches like the Peter Yan match and like the Cejudo match. If it was a real fight and he was fighting a Cejudo, or in a rule set where you can throw knees, if this was one championship and he went on his knees or on all fours, he would have ate several kicks to the face. He would have eaten knees to the face. We've seen it happen with Demetrius Johnson. He thought he was going to be a grounded opponent. He thought he was going to be a grounded opponent. He forgot that one championship doesn't have the same rules as the UFC, and he ate a knee down the pipeline. It's going to happen. And that's the thing. Aljamain wants to spam, grounded opponent all the time. Have one of his hands dragging. So just the lack of self-awareness is crazy to me. And once again, I'm not hating on Aljamain. I just think that his style, he plays to the rules. His style is the most playing to the rule set. So it's strange that he's very critical of this grappler, but he doesn't see that he's the same way, but in MMA.
Any other sport, boxing, we start neutral. If one guy's throwing punches and the other guy's defending, he's absorbing damage. Even if he's defending beautifully, as long as it's hitting on the arms, he's taking damage. He didn't throw a single punch. We know who's winning. Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, we start neutral. If you get taken down, or if you sit down, you get docked a point, or should I say you give up 2, now 3 in college wrestling, because you're now on a defensive position. You got taken down. You gave up a takedown.
And I guess this was his big point, that he's like, hey, in wrestling, if you're down, you get docked points. Well, in wrestling, the goal of wrestling is to pin. So yes, getting put on your back, you're getting docked points because you're pinning yourself essentially. So yeah, of course, wrestling is not a good comparison, because in jiu-jitsu, if you're on your back, you can win from your back. You can hit them with the rear naked choke and you win. So being on your back, how would you dock points if you can win from your back? You can triangle somebody from the bottom. There is a lot of positions on your back and someone above you where in jiu-jitsu, you could still win the match. In wrestling, that's not happening. If you're on your back and they put your hands over your shoulders and you're pinned, it's over. So the wrestling comparison doesn't make sense, because wrestling is their goal is to pin. Jiu-jitsu's goal is to submit. So where you are, you can't dock points for someone being on the back, because we've seen many occasions where someone is on their back and then wins the fight. But he's not confident in his, abilities. He said to himself they had to input rules to make sure that they don't, injure his knees or whatever with heel hooks or knee locks or anything like that. So I just don't get the comparison to wrestling. It doesn't make sense.
But jiu-jitsu is the only sport where you can sit and not be penalized. How does that even make sense?
Because Ariel wants to tell him, hey, because it's ground fighting. It's not wrestling. It's not even really ground fighting. you're on like you're kind of crouched or hunched over, but you're not on your knees. You're not on your butt. You know, I don't know why Ariel didn't give him pushback on this.
And because you're being aggressive with attacking, you are docked. I don't know. I just think it's a weird play on the rule set, and to try to say that I'm the one playing up on the rule set. Like, I get where you're coming from, but that's not applicable to any other sport. So why?
What's a different sport? It's like saying, well, you can't apply wrestling, you can't apply football rules to basketball because it's a different game. If you don't want to grapple, if you don't want to exchange on the ground, well, then don't go into a jiu-jitsu grappling match. It just doesn't make sense. If you want to stand up and exchange, you should do a, wrestling match. Again, they're in a, situation where they're close up. He's going to go to his knees in all fours. We've seen it. It happens.
Is this the only sport that is super weird that we're going to glorify and justify? Well, learn how to pass guard. That's what you want to say, learn how to pass guard. Well, the fight starts on the feet. Well, how about you learn how to get a takedown? How about you learn how to set up your offensive attacks? I'm not saying I'm the best leg lock guy, but I know my entries. So why am I going to play into your game and give you what you want? You know what I mean? So then this plays a game of it takes two to tango, right? We need two to have a good dance. And thankfully, Chase Hooper in my last one, man, he was a willing dance partner. And he even had submission attempts. And even on the ground, I went into his guard because at least he's being aggressive in a different way, not trying to, I went for the legs. And then I defend the legs, and then it looks like he went for a submission attempt. That doesn't even make sense. So you're telling me if I keep defending and you keep attacking like that, you win, although you sat in a defensive position and I'm in an offensive position. And
that's the thing. It's if you see the person on top as offensive, there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys that most of their, stuff is from the back. Their offense is the thing about it is it's how he perceives it. Because he has a MMA and a wrestling mind, he perceives on your back as defense or you're not being offensive. But there's a lot of people that are very dangerous off their back. Charles Oliveira. There's a lot of people that off their back, they're very dangerous. So to say that they're in a defense because they're on their back or they're sitting down, that doesn't make sense because there's a lot of people out there that will destroy you on their back or on their butt.
What world can you play defense and win off of your back? And
you know what? The saying goes, defenses win championships. So he doesn't know anything.
Combat setting like that. It's a very weird one. And thankfully the last one wasn't that. Even if I lost to Chase, I don't give a shit. I just didn't want a boring match.
His fights are boring. Most of his fights are boring as shit. That's what's crazy. I'm like, dude, do you not realize that you're not that? You've had maybe 2-3 entertaining fights, maybe at the most. Like the Corey Sandhagen fight was entertaining, but it's because it was like a flash jump up and then rear naked choke. But the majority of his fights aren't interesting. The fights that I found interesting that Aljamain has been in, the Sean O'Malley fight, he got starched, TKO'd. The Marlon Moraes fight, he got head kick KO'd. Like, those are entertaining fights, but if I'm like saying, I'm going to watch Aljamain Sterling, I'm not thinking, this is going to be a super entertaining fight. The first Yan fight was not entertaining at all. The second fight, both Yan fights weren't that entertaining. But that's pretty much the end of the clip. But go ahead and comment down below. What do you think? Am I wrong? Are you a huge Aljamain Sterling fan? Are you not an Aljamain Sterling fan? Do you like his style? Do you not like his style? And if you want to see a video of Sean Strickland absolutely destroying a woke journalist in Canada, click this video here or here. I don't know. It'll be here somewhere. It'll either be here or it'll be here. But yeah, click that. And that's it. Till next time. Have a good one. And like, subscribe, comment down below, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a clip. Thanks. Later.